Well, you join me down in the Cotswolds. I'm here for a couple of days, and this time I'm going to be looking at pellet fishing. It's something that I found myself using more and more recently, and I've been having some really good results. So why not have a look exactly how I do it, a few little edges along the way, and yeah, you can introduce that into your own fishing. With your pellet fishing, it's not too dissimilar to sort of normal fishing with like boilies and other baits as well. Obviously a lot of it depends on where you're fishing, so you have to base your rigs around where you're fishing at the time, because say for example like today I'm fishing on a gravel pit, there's sort of weedy areas, or you're fishing on gravel spots in clear water. But if you were fishing, say, a smaller lake, like a commercial type lake, you're not going to have those conditions to deal with. So you might be fishing closer in, and different rigs may be a lot more beneficial. So in that sense, you have to just base your rigs around where you're fishing, but how you fish them, how you apply them, and the actual reasons behind using pellets are, they're something I've just found myself using more and more in my own fishing. And I think the venues that you're fishing as well, like people are taking, people have got a lot more pride in everything they do nowadays, and that the same with the fishery owners. These fishery owners, they want to like improve their stock in their lake all the time, and what they're doing with that is they're feeding the fish. They're spending a lot of money on the stock, and they've got to keep them in maximum condition. And the pellets are, well, they are used by these fishery owners to keep the fish in those conditions and grow them on, and therefore the fish, they're really in tune with the pellets as well. That's what they're getting fed daily. And when you actually look at it, everything in the pellets is designed for feeding the fish. So everything in that bait is ideal. That's what the fish are looking for. It's what is going to keep them in best condition. So once they start eating them, it's just, it's a no-brainer. So I've just naturally found myself including them more and more into my own fishing. Rig wise, for this session I'm fishing on a nice little gravel spot, so I've got some really nice little pop-up rigs that I'm going to fish over that bottom. Also they're very anti-tangle as well, because I'm fishing that little bit further out, and I'm actually leaving my rigs in place for a longer amount of time, because where I'm fishing at the minute I'm not fishing for many fish. I'll be lucky if I even get a bite, to be honest. So that's the presentation that I'm going to be using here, but I'm also going to have a look at a couple of other presentations. So if you were fishing somewhere where you're fishing a lot closer in, or you're getting a lot of bites, I can show you a real cool little trick with some PVA bags that is really speedy, nice and efficient, and also has, it's just a really nice presentation for that sort of fishing. Well, that's the first of the two rigs sorted for this session. I've got a nice supple 20-pound fluorocarbon hook length to a Ronnie presentation, and then I've got one of the nice mini crayfish dumbbell wafters on. The hook will sit flat on the bottom and the wafter will sit just up. Now these hook baits, they're designed to match the pellets, and they just make life a little bit easier because they're a little bit more durable. Obviously, when you introduce pellets as loose feed into the swim, they're going to start going soft. And the problem you've got with carp fishing is where your rigs are in place for a lot longer, time-wise, you don't want your hook bait going soft and potentially coming off the hair. So these little purpose-made hook baits get around that problem, and they're ultra attractive, and they help with the mechanic of the rig as well, just being a wafter. Perfect. As for the second rig, I'm going to be using a Ronnie style presentation again. This one's slightly different. This one is a 25-pound fluorocarbon boom section, which is a little bit stiffer, and I've crimped that. These are just ones that I've already got pre-tied. And on this rig, I'm going to be using a super buoyant hook bait, obviously, because I want that to sit up pop-up style. And I've just got some candy sticks so I can adjust the size of my hook bait to the mechanics of the rigs for it to sit down absolutely perfect. I've got some crayfish ones, mini crayfish ones. I've also got some of the new black peppered squid ones, so I might try those as well. But I'll probably start off on Match the Hatch with a mini crayfish mix, just to keep it the same as our loose feed. Well, there's my two rigs, nice and fresh for later on when I recast. I'm going to pop the kettle on now, and then whilst that's boiling, I'm just going to knock up a little bit of bait, ready for once I've recast these rigs, I can put some bait nice and fresh over the spot, ready for this evening. Well, I was meant to be flicking the rods out and putting some more bait out in this swim. However, I've just been to the van, and on the way back round, I found some fish in the corner, and I'm feeling like I should move. So I'm going to, I'm going to get round there, get the rods out, and I'll show you that bait around there. Well, I'm all set up in the new swim, and I found a little spot. I've plumbed that up. All my rods are clipped up, ready to cast out onto that area. The rigs are the same. The only thing I've got left to do is knock up the bait that I'm going to be putting out, and I'll show you what I'm going to be using just before I spawn it out. Just going to get this bait ready now, and the bait I'm going to be using is the crayfish pellets. Now, they come in two different sizes. They come in the mini mix and the maxi mix, and the maxi mix are the ones that I'm going to be feeding through the spawn, and they're sort of from low to mid oil pellets, and in the pellets they've got a unique sort of crayfish flavour, and to be honest, they absolutely stink. You can see why they work so well. They just releasing off of tractors all the time, you know, not just from the tractors within the pellets, but then you've also got that unique crayfish flavour as well. And I'm gonna jazz them up a little bit just to get a bit of extra in the swim. So I've got a kilo of those, and in there you've got different size pellets, like 4s, 6s, 8s, and they're different levels of oil as well in the pellets. I'm gonna just put a little bit of liver extract on these pellets. You can't beat a nice soluble liquid. And then absolutely reek. And now all I'm going to do is add some insect meal, and I've been using this for quite a while now, and I found it just brings results, to be honest. It's the sort of insect meal that are in the bug boilies, and I wouldn't see why, you know, there's no reason not to put it with these pellets. At the end of the day, now I've put the liquid on there, I can put this insect meal, that'll adhere to the wet pellet and stick to it. If you leave it a little bit longer, they'll sort of really stick to it. I'm not too fussed, I just want them to stick to the pellets, so when I put it out and the pellet goes to the bottom, then it can just come off the pellets, and then that'll just create a really nice attractive area. And when the fish start nudging around, that'll all flare up and just oozes attraction in your swim. So I'm just going to pop a bit of that in there. You don't need loads, just put a little bit in and see how it goes. You'll see that it'll start sticking to the pellets, and you just want to put enough in so there's no loose powder in the bucket. That's probably the perfect amount, to be honest. And then you can see that just sticks to the pellets. Beautiful. And finally, I'm just going to put a handful of bug boilies. So I've got literally 90% pellets and then a few boilies, just so you know there's a little bit of harder bait in the swim. And that's it, that is ready to go out in the pond. What are we saying, Rick?
Just under 43.
Well, do. Beauty. Again. Ooh, happy days. Alright. Well, there you go. Proof of the pudding, they say. Just under 43 pounds of great big common carp. Wasn't expecting to catch a fish this big. Obviously, I just wanted to show you about the pellets and the bait, etc. And catch a fish, or try and catch a fish along the way, but it's very, very, very nice that a great big 43 pound common has come along at the same time. Yeah, absolutely buzzing. Wicked. But yeah, just goes to show, just keep the faith in the bait. It'll do the work for you, as long as you get a couple of nice rigs presented over the top. Happy days. Lovely jubbly. Right, I'm going to get a few snaps of this one and then get her back in the lake. Awesome. Thank you very much. just done a few lovely water shots. As you can see, what a truly wonderful carp. Thank you very much. I love this bit, watching them go back. It's great. Go and make someone else's day. Go on, buddy. See you later. Just getting this rig ready to chuck back out, and this is the rig that I caught the fish on over the top of those pellets. A little dark mini crayfish waft the barrel, just on a little running rig on the bottom. Just sat down nice, match the hatch style, perfect. And get this rod back on the dance floor. I mentioned earlier on about another presentation, and obviously I'm fishing here, and at the moment I'm fishing for quite large carp, which is why I said I'd be lucky if I caught one, and I did, which is great. But if I was fishing for slightly smaller fish, getting a lot of bites, fishing a lot closer in, that sort of thing, you can use this presentation. I really like it. So it's a very simple uncoated hook length, and the mini crayfish dumbbell wafters come in two different sizes. So this one, I've just got a 12 by 14 wafter that I've just taken the ends off of a little bit just to make it exactly the same size as the largest pellet in the maxi crayfish range. And then all I'm going to do is I've got a little PVA bag of the mini crayfish pellets. Now, I love these pellets. They're great for solid bag fishing, but they're also really good for this sort of fishing with these little funnel webs. And what I do is I just hook my hook on. So this is basically acting like just a mouthful of attraction for a carp. And you can either fish them on your own, or you can fish them over the top of the baited area if you're putting a baited area in your swim. Now, normally you hook a bag on and it would just hang like that and you cast out. But I don't like that, because I think sometimes if the lead goes in a little bit hard, I think that can tear away from the bag. And the reason why I use the uncoated hook length is because I just get the hook length, I twist a loop in it, and then put the loop over the top of the knot. And now you can see that that hangs perfectly. Obviously, you could take the hook link off and pull it through the PVA bag, which a lot of people do. However, when I'm fishing and I'm casting a lot and you've got wet hands catching fish, I don't like to faff around with the anti-tangle sleeves, and just PVA and wet hands, they just don't go well together. So that's what I like to do. I like to just turn that over the top of the knot, and you can see that once that's melted on the bottom, that pellet is going to sit with your hook right in the middle of the pellets. It's not, your hook's not going to be on the edge of it. It's going to be right in the center of the bag, which is absolutely perfect. And you can start off your session just one of each, because in the pots of the wafters, they come in two different colors. You've got the dark one and the light one. So if you know, most oftentimes you're using 2 rods. So start one on each and one will become apparent which one's working a little bit better on the day. It just gives you options. But yeah, that's a perfect presentation. If you were using slightly bigger PVA bags, you could also use the mix that I showed you that I'm using this time for actually putting out with a spod. There's no reason why you couldn't just pop that in a PVA bag and fish that in the bag, and you can choose. But yeah, there's plenty of options there to catch you a few fish. I hope you can take something from this short video and introduce the crayfish range into your own fishing. I've certainly started using a lot more pellets recently and it's definitely paid off, catching me a few more carp. Also, it's worth keeping an eye out on the DNA socials. They're always offering a few bulk deals where you could grab yourself a bargain on some items such as the crayfish range. But other than that, most importantly, make sure you enjoy your fishing.